Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new process video and I am working in my TN that is all about the books I read. And this is the book that I'm doing today. It was called The Nest by Cynthia Sweeney. It will go on the left hand side and I have absolutely nothing picked out to go with it. So we'll just see how this one goes. I've got some light blue in there, white of course, and then this it's kind of an odd color. It's kind of orangey gold. And I don't know that I really have anything that matches well with that. So I may try to just cop out and go black and white because that would match the title and black and white matches almost anything. But we'll see how it goes. So when I went into my stash of 6x8 papers, I originally was trying to look for something that would match that kind of orangey gold color. And everything in here was just too orange. It just wasn't going to work. So I did decide to go with black and white. And I have picked out this one. And I have to say, I have a lot of these 6x8 papers because I used to subscribe to the Citrus Twist kit. And their papers, if you do the Pocket Life type kit that they have, a lot of these come in that size. And then also Cocoa Daisy. And I have these in their own container, and honestly, sometimes I forget about them because I also have multiple containers of paper that's 6x12. When I quit doing 12x12 as my standard scrapping, I cut all those in half so I could use them for 6x8, 6x12, 3x8, whatever. And then these that came as 6x8 they tend to get forgotten. So it was a good reminder to pull those out and look through them every once in a while. I will matte this photo on white, I'm sure, but for now, I'm going to deal with the 6x8 paper. So standard size TN is pretty much 4x8. You have to go slightly less than that, at least in the one I have, to get it to fit well, but it's approximately 4x8. So I'm going to cut this down and then I can get that adhered to the left side. So I have cut this at just under 4 inches and it was already 8 inches, so that's fine. And then I have this little chunk left over, and some people might throw that away. I wouldn't. I would save this and put this into my black and white scraps because, potentially I could use it as a border for a different TN page. I mean, who knows? There are lots of options. I could cut it down into 2x2 squares. There are things I could do with it, so I am going to keep it. Since all the photos that I'm using for 2020 are 2x2, I cut a mat that's 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. I just want a tiny little border around all the sides, just enough so that it'll stick out from that paper, and then I'll adhere it. I was going through all of my 3x4 cards to see if I could find something that had journaling lines on it to use for this page. I didn't find that, but what I did find was this card. On this side, it's black and white, which would still match. But on this side, I love it that the nose actually matches the color that's in the photo. So I'm tempted to cut out this part and use, cut around here, use this side, the goldish side for that, and then cut out the phrase and fussy cut it and use that underneath so that both colors match. It doesn't solve the problem of how I'm in a journal, but I love this, so I think I'm going to do it. Okay, I've cut them out and I love them. So there's that. This will go right underneath. And I'm not going to do it perfectly centered. I'm going to do it slightly off center, I think. Kind of like that, maybe. And then I'll probably, maybe I should put this at the bottom. I was thinking up here, but that's too much color next to each other, I think. So maybe I'll put this down in the lower left somewhere, and then I might have to just create a journaling block of my own for the middle, or just come up with something else creative. So there it is with those attached, and then I just have to figure out what the heck am I going to do in the middle. I'm almost wondering if I want to do something similar to what I did in a previous one where I did a tip in on the side. I'm wondering if I should do a washi strip and then a partial card that folds up, because I could do something fun there and then have journaling behind it. I'm not exactly sure how that would work because there are things I want to say about this book, but I'm just not sure. So I'm going to think about that a little bit and then I'll be back. Well, I found this 4x6 card in my stash, and it isn't quite what I was looking for, but I might be able to cut it and do something with it here. So it's a little bit too wide, this way or too tall, but I could cut that down. There's a lot of black around the edges, so I could trim that and it would probably fit better. But there's no way, obviously, this is going to fit here. So I think I'd probably have to cut it off right before the stars where that line is to get it to fit in there. So I'm going to start with that and then just see how I feel about it once it's cut. So I cut this down and this is what I'm left with, but it's still really tight. I mean, it would fit, but you barely see any paper between the spots there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lift this up a little bit and see if I can tuck in this card a little bit underneath it for visual interest and so it will get me some more space. Woohoo! I was able to pull this up, move it over a little bit, and tuck this underneath there, and I like that. So my next thing is I want to work in some of this blue because the only place I have it is in this photo, and that's not enough. It's going to be too black and white otherwise. I do think that I have an ink pad that is this color. I have one that's called, I think it's Pool Party from Stampin' Up, and I think that might be the right color. So I could do a little bit of just kind of dot stamping here just to bring in some of that. And then I don't know if I have any phrase labels or embellishments or other things that are that color, but I'm certainly willing to look. I took out the Pool Party stamp pad that I had thinking it was the right one. Well, when I did a test stamp, it actually, I hope the camera can show it, it actually came out with more of a greenish tint than I expected. So that's not going to work. These two do not really match. I have some other blues, so I'm going to try those instead. I ended up going with this color. It's called Soft Sky, also from Stampin' Up. That was a much better match. And actually what I ended up doing was I stamped it once, and then when I did the second stamp, I went on here just to make it a little bit lighter. And I'm happy with the way that came out. So you can see it on there. And I hope the camera picks it up, but it's a much better color match than the first ink that I tried. So, oh, I should mention too, this is the stamp that I used. Look at the date on there, 1997. My daughter was born that year. I've had these that long and I still use them and love them, so I'm not going to get rid of them. Well, I didn't find anything in my phrase labels that I have that are about reading and books. I didn't find anything that would fit here. So either color-wise or phrase-wise, didn't like it. But I have pulled out these stickers. These are the snarky phrases from Tim Holtz. I've had these forever and I love them, but I haven't used a ton of them. This book, it felt a little snarky. It's a book about a group of siblings that have been left some money. And they're all kind of earmarking it for different things in their lives when they're able to obtain it. They have to wait till everyone's a certain age and then they can get it. And they refer to it as the nest because it's their nest egg. And some of the characters are definitely more likable than others. One in particular, one of the brothers, is not a good person. And so I'm thinking, can I find some kind of snarky phrase that alludes to that where I could include it on this page? So I found this sticker that says, I'm sorry, did I roll my eyes out loud? It's perfect for the guy that I was mentioning. His name is Leo in the book. And actually there are other moments in there too where I caught myself kind of rolling my eyes at a few things. So I think it'll be perfect. I added the sticker on there and I actually decided to cover up the part of the card that said documented on because I don't really need that. This is what I need up here. So I covered that up and then I like that I was able to run it to the left-hand side. It just adds a little bit more visual interest. And then hopefully you can see it, but along the edge here, it's pretty light, but I did just a quick line with this marker. Oops, there we go. And this is actually the Pool Party marker. And for some reason, it looked more true to the color I wanted in the marker than it did in the ink pad. I'm not sure why that would be, but I decided to just run that little stripe along the side there to bring in more of that color, and I'm happy with the way that looks. And I actually think this one is done. I don't think I need to do anything more with it. So here's another one finished for my TN about books. Thanks for watching.